Hello there, and welcome back. Today is part two and on the power of community. And today we're going to be diving into what I like to call beyond borders, which is all about creating global connections, which really have local impact. Community, like I said in the previous first part of this series, is all about understanding how to nurture and build connections and relationships. And Esther Perel in her quote said, "We are hungry for connection, not company. We want to have connection, not just more people in our lives." So today we're really going to examine how engaging with others through conversation, through debate, through shared activities really broadens your perspectives. It challenges your belief system and it really inspires a lot more innovative thinking. So, one of the first things when it comes to, and why I call this global connections and local impact, is because through the Schools of Excellence community, our clients are really able to create these global connections because we have people from all over the world, right? So we have people from all over the US, from Canada, from Mexico, from Italy, from England, from Africa, from New Zealand, from other parts of Australia, like everywhere. And the global connections that are created through the online portal, but then the impact is local in that specific community, in that school, with that parent body, with the teachers that are there. So this is like just again another incredible part of community. And when we look at how do we really engage with community in conversation, debate, shared activities, one of the first things is going to events. Now, the big thing about going to events is it requires inherent risk taking. I had a conversation with someone who I really felt she was an incredible fit to come to our legacy retreat, and she really wanted to come also. And one of the hurdles that she had to overcome was the mindset around being in the room with other people, being vulnerable, being in a space where she might not be the smartest person in the room. And that was really, really challenging for her. And she was really working through overcoming it. Ultimately, when we got closer to the date, she still wasn't ready. She wasn't in the right mindset already to make that leap and be vulnerable and be at this event. So hopefully she comes to the next one. But the reason I'm sharing this story is because there is a lot of emotional exposure when you go to events. So when I hear a lot of times people say things like, "Oh, build community, go to events," it's not so simple. Meaning, not every single person could just pick themselves up and go to different events or retreats and be emotionally vulnerable like that. So I want to talk about a lot of other ways that you could be building community, not necessarily always from physically going to an event. There are online portals, there are other ways to build community. And the reason I share that is because as you listen to today's episode and I share different ideas, I want you to really take stock and think for a second, what makes sense for me? Right? What makes sense for me in my season of life, where I am right now? And then also, like in the story that I just shared, where do I need to push my mindset? Right? What is the work that I have to do in order to get ready? So maybe the next year or the next time they run this event, I'm ready to actually be at this experience, because timing is everything, right? We have people that follow us for Schools of Excellence for a really long time, and then finally they're ready. But what does it mean finally they're ready? It's the timing. It's everything coming together at the same time, that they are mentally, emotionally, physically ready to make this leap inside of their business. So when you're engaging in conversation and debate, so think of like the staff meeting, right? The staff meetings is one of the best places it's a great fertile ground for community building. Why? Because at a staff meeting, you're going to have conversation, debate, you're going to be sharing activities, people are going to be sharing their belief structures, you're going to challenge those things, you're doing brainstorming, you're doing innovative thinking. There's all these things that happen at a staff meeting. Now, what's really, really important when you're at a staff meeting is making sure that there really is exposure to diverse viewpoints, right? So that you're actually at your staff meeting, you're having people that are speaking from different background, cultures, experiences, so that they're sharing their perspectives. A lot of times at staff meetings, I'll see this very, very often, where you have a very diverse group of staff sitting in the room, but it's the same people talking. It's the same people communicating. It's the same people sharing the same ideas. And it's not just that it's the same people sharing the ideas all the time. all of those same people that sharing ideas all have the same ideas, right? Like no one even offers any dissent inside of that staff meeting. And, again, a great quote from Esther Perel: there is no intimacy without dissent. There is no intimacy without dissent. So she obviously used it in the context of romantic couples, where when a couple is in a relationship, right? They're married, they're in a relationship, whatever it is, you can't have true intimacy if there's no dissent. If either partner cannot be honest with the other person and share a difference of opinion or perspective or viewpoint or belief structure or whatever it is, you guys aren't really in a relationship, because neither of you feel safe enough to communicate dissent to the other person. The same thing is in a staff meeting when you're trying to really build an incredible community. There has to be dissent. There has to be different viewpoints. There has to be different perspectives, right? It's one of the hardest parts of being a leader. When I think of just leading inside of schools of excellence, we have such a diverse team. And I love hearing different perspectives and different viewpoints. And many times it's dissent, meaning I share one opinion. Someone else on the team is like, no, I actually really disagree with that. I feel very differently about that. And this is my perspective. And someone else has a totally different perspective. And as the leader, right, I need to be thinking about, okay, what are really the values of the company? Where is really direction? Where are we going? But if I silence dissent consistently, meaning if someone gets on and says, I think it should be done this way, and every single time I say, well, thanks for sharing, but we're still doing it this way, right? And I never really take into account what other people have to say, that I'm not running a company, right? I'm running, it's communism, where it's like I say, and that's it, and everything goes under me. If we want to run a company and a school where there truly is community, a huge component of community is the diversity inside of the community. And it's not just diversity of like, oh, we all look differently. No, it's or we believe differently or whatever it is, or we have different faiths. It's diversity of thought. It's diversity of perspective. It's diversity of how we really have both encounter the same experience, but we look at it completely differently, right? And the exposure helps us understand the alternative viewpoints and expands our understanding of really complex issues, right? When we're looking at schools, you're not just looking at black and white binary problems. You're looking at a lot of complexity in the way things should be done, how to have this difficult conversation. Should you speak now? Should you not speak now? Is speaking now going to send the right message? The wrong message is being quiet and waiting for things to calm down. The opposite kind of message is it. Like, there's so much to think about. And as a leader, while all of these things are happening, you're also looking at, how do I build community? Well, building that kind of community comes from exposure of different viewpoints, where when you expose yourself to different viewpoints, you become so much more understanding of so many other people, right? Since starting Schools of Excellence in 2015, and in my company and then, in the mastermind groups that I'm part of, the more that I expose myself to different viewpoints, different types of people, different backgrounds, different perspectives, different ways of looking at the world, I have so much more to bring to the table when I'm coaching clients, when I'm working with people, when I'm preparing speeches, when I'm preparing podcasts, because you're not just hearing my siloed view of like, well, this is the way I see it. No, I'm really taking into account, to the best of my ability, so many other perspectives. Let's look at another component of, what does it mean, global connections, local impact? How do we really create connections with people at a bigger level? One of the components of that is critical thinking and reflection. So when you're in conversation and with other people on the team, so whether that's your leadership team, your staff, whatever it is, really taking a second and say, okay, what are my beliefs and opinions in comparison to other people in this particular subject, right? The process of reflection causes you to question assumptions and reconsider the position that you have, and developed a much more nuanced perspective. So let's drill down a little bit further here, right? A great quote that I heard once is, strong opinions held loosely. And I really love that, because, it's like, okay, I can have really strong opinions about something, but what it means by held loosely is like, okay, you come to me and you share a legitimate argument that, changes the perspective or makes me look at it from a completely different set of glasses. Great. Let me consider what that is, right? So strong opinions. Yes, I have strong opinions about the world, how things should be done, whatever it is, and held loosely, meaning like, let me hear what someone else has to say also. And then there are certain things where it's like, no, I don't have strong opinions held loosely. It's like, these are my values. This is it. There's absolute total moral clarity when it comes to certain things for me. So when we look at engaging in community, why is it so important to question assumptions? Why is it so important for us to develop a culture that has us reconsidering different positions and has us creating the ability to have a more nuanced perspective? When you're leading a school and making decisions, okay, you have a teacher, and I say this all the time when it comes to discernment, right? You have two teachers walk in. Both of them are late. One of them has a headache, woke up late, probably should have gone to bed earlier. And another one is taking care of a chronically ill parent in the morning. That's when her shift is. And so she came late that morning because, traffic came while she was coming back from the hospital, or her parent needed her to stay a little bit longer. Those are two completely different situations. They need a completely different response, emotional response, tactical response, all of those things. It needs a completely different response. Now, the reason why a lot of young, inexperienced directors respond to staff all in the same way, generically across the board. And again, if you want to go and listen to my podcast episode on fairness, I have a whole podcast episode on that. Why they struggle with that, they don't have nuanced perspective. They don't have nuanced perspective that there are other ways to look at things. This is why building community with inside of your center and having people engage in these kinds of conversations, this is how you unshackle yourself from being part of every single thing that's going on in the center. One of the conversations I had with an owner several weeks ago is she was saying how, when it comes to difficult conversations, she feels that her directors have like the initial conversation. So they'll like have the initial thing of like, hey, you've been coming late a lot. So first part of a difficult conversation is the awareness phase of like, knock, knock, awareness, you're not coming on time, right? Like, and out of the 5 days a week that you work, you come on time like one, or maybe, half, or out of 10 days, you come on time 2 times, right? So that's the awareness phase. And so she was saying how her directors are pretty good at doing the difficult conversation in the awareness phase. Like, let me give you awareness about what's happening. But then when it comes to actual accountability and follow through, where now they actually have to say, okay, this is the consequence. This is what's going on. We need to dig a little bit deeper over here. That requires a much more nuanced perspective, because it requires the leader to step inside of themselves and say, where am I making assumptions over here? Where are my own biases riding decision-making here? What is my relationship, whether overtly or behind the scenes, how is this coming across to the teacher? And that requires self-reflection, that requires a lot of self-awareness, and that requires your ability to have a nuanced approach, right? Because you cannot follow the printed SOP in this process, because you're dealing with humans here, right? And it's a different conversation. The directors who don't have community in their life, who do not engage in regular conversation and debate and dialogue, they cannot build the emotional literacy and the vocabulary needed to have these difficult conversations. They just can't, because they don't have enough exposure to other viewpoints and perspectives. So when I talk about the power of community and why community is so powerful, it's not just about for you as the leader, like, yes, I don't want you to be lonely. Loneliness is not a good thing. You want to be surrounded by people. Part of building accountability inside of your organization, a driver of creating retention inside of the organization is building community, which is broadening the intellectual perspectives of the people on your team. Okay, let's go further. Okay, stimulates creativity and innovation. So one of the things that I often talk about when it comes to like going to events, right? And I know I spoke up in the beginning of the episode, like some of you are scared to go to events, or it's difficult for you, or you're not really sure, whatever it is, right? One of the benefits of the events is that when you're there, because it's not always this, and again, that's retreat styles, like the kinds of events that Schools of Excellence puts on. But when you're going to like a conference style event where like there's, an exact curriculum or whatever it is, the best ideas are not coming from the stage. It's in the breakfast room, in the lunchroom, in the hallway, right outside the ladies' room, the befores and afters, all of those things. Why? Because when you are with other humans, it stimulates creativity and innovation. It stimulates it. You know, it was so interesting. I was driving in the car with a couple of friends of mine a couple months ago, and they were talking about their dread for the summer season. Right in Florida, it's like, sickly hot over here. I can't really go outside a lot unless you're, going in the pool. And I was talking about how much I love the summer season. And I love summer, like the 2 months of summer, like July and August, when my kids are in camp, when I have my older kids in overnight camp, when my kids are in day camp. There's just I absolutely love summer. And so for lots of reasons, which I'm not going to go into, but I'm sure one of the reasons why. And it was interesting because my friend was actually like, why do you love summer so much? It's so hot. And I said, one of the reasons why I love summer so much is because the way that I've structured my schedule and my calendar and the way like the school year operates, because of the environment. And I'm also going to the beach more and things like that. I'm out in nature more. I have the best ideas in the summer. I know in the summer, amazing ideas get birthed for the company. And it's one of the reasons why I love summer so much. So, and again, I'm engaging with different types of community in the summer because my 2 older kids are not home, right? Goldie and Mendel go to camp the whole summer. They're gone for 8 weeks. And so my younger kids are home, Kyla and Yossi, but they're 9 and 6. It's a very different type of mental stimulation that's needed in the summer months. And so because I have less output with my older kids when it comes to like intellectual conversations and staying up late at night and talking to them and all the things that come with raising teenagers, because I don't have that output as much in the summer, I'm engaging with different types of people and community in the summer, and that stimulates a different part of my brain, which allows for different creativity and innovation. Now, I can't tell you exactly what idea I'm going to come up with in the summer, but what I will tell you is that because I am in a different setting, in a different community, there's different ideas that get birthed during that time. Okay, so the last thing I want to share here is building empathy and understanding. Another reason why creating connections with community, just being with the right people in the room, your life is different. So I remember so distinctly, we hosted a retreat, and there was a owner that was coming to this retreat, and she was going through such a difficult season that she really wanted to shut down the center. That's how hard it was for her. And she was considering actually canceling coming to the retreat because she was going through such a hard time. And she was like, I'm shutting everything down. But she had already booked the flight and everything. And her husband was like, just go. She went, and she pinged me after, and she's like, within the first 15 minutes of being at the retreat and seeing all the other women, I got all the healing that I needed, and I knew that I needed to keep my center open. And her center is still open 2 years later. Why am I sharing this? Community is this like balm for the soul. It's healing for the soul. It creates a level of empathy. It fosters empathy and understanding by allowing you to see the world through other people's eyes. It allows you to listen to other people's experiences and perspectives and really create a deep appreciation for the human experience. And when you can cultivate empathy towards other people's struggles, towards other people's challenges, it's not just about elevating the whole consciousness of like your inner circle and humanity. It's wow, life is so much richer and more beautiful when you connect with people in that kind of way. It's just, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So I want to wrap up here. When you are looking at pushing yourself to start building community, and you want to expand your ability to have these debates and conversations, some practical steps. Again, I shared a couple of them here, but I'm going to, summarize it here. Number 1, attend events and workshops. Go to workshops, go to seminars, go to events where you can interact with other attendees and other people so you can hear perspectives. Read. Expand your knowledge and understanding by reading books, articles, essays by other authors with diverse backgrounds, with different viewpoints. It exposes you to new ideas and it challenges your existing beliefs, right? If you're watching the video version of this, I got lots of books behind me, okay? The books that I read are from so many different types of authors, from different backgrounds, from different upbringings, from different faiths, from different ethnicities, from everything. And I absolutely love it. The more you read and expand your knowledge and understanding, whether you're reading books or listening to podcasts, I like both. I do both. Exposing yourself to these new ideas is unbelievable for your ability to create community. And lastly is practice active listening, right? When you're listening to your staff, to the parents, to your leadership team, pause, listen, don't interrupt, just get curious. The genuine interest in other people will help you create more understanding, better perspective, and it enriches your life in such a beautiful and meaningful way. So thank you so much for joining us here for part 2.